Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, Pulavinaka, and warm Pacific greetings. It's great to be sharing some remarks on the historic ICJ Climate Advisory Opinion for this event with you all. And I'd like to begin my remarks by grounding us with the journey of this campaign and what's the next steps, what's the path ahead for all of us. The Pacific has always been a people of great voyages. And true to this spirit, our region undertook another great voyage beginning in 2019 to the world's highest court, the International Court of Justice. Why did we do this? Simply, we were tired of seeing climate change take our homes, our villages, our communities, our cultures, and ways of life. The very thread of Pacifica existence was unraveling before our eyes. And in the other side, the world seemed least bothered in its response to the climate crisis. We were tired of seeing the world do little as sea levels rose and cyclones battered our communities one after another. So a group of 27 law students from the University of the South Pacific got together to begin a campaign to take climate change to the ICJ, and they became the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change, the lead organization behind this case. Along the journey, we found support with the government of Vanuatu, who formally led this charge. The path ahead, however, was not simple. We needed to get the support of 97 UN member states to support a resolution calling for the ICJ to issue this ruling. And so we began building a movement of young people, of civil society, of academics, governments, and world leaders, and beyond who campaigned alongside us to get this support. We mounted social media campaigns, advocacy and awareness campaigns at major global events. We worked on the political, legal, and diplomatic strategy. In short, we organized to build power. And slowly, the number of states started trickling in. In March 2023, after 4 years of campaigning, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution by consensus with 132 co-sponsors, asking the ICJ to issue the advisory opinion on climate change. Phase 1 was complete. The next step was to ensure that countries and voices most affected by climate change were present and were pleading their case before the ICJ. We again began working with communities, government officials, and lawyers and the whole movement to ensure that global South countries were present at the ICJ, because we knew where the attacks would come from. And sure enough, the global majority showed up. More than 100 countries showed up before the ICJ, with the largest number of women, indigenous people, young people showing up and representing their countries, ready to challenge the big polluting countries who came with arguments essentially telling the court that it had no power to deal with the issue of climate change and that it should not deal with this case. So together we stood strong, we stood united with our countries in what became known as the biggest climate case in history. And about 11 months ago, the ICJ delivered its ruling. In a landmark opinion, the ICJ rejected all the arguments of the big polluters and delivered an opinion for the global majority, for frontline communities everywhere. For the first time, the court made clear that states have binding obligations to protect the climate system under a variety of sources of law, and that this is not discretionary, but a legal duty owed to people today and to future generations. It made clear that the Paris Agreement is not just a political commitment, it creates legally binding, enforceable duties, and countries must ensure that their national climate plans align with the 1.5-degree temperature goal. Otherwise, it could be an internationally wrongful act. Even more powerfully, the court said that all states have an obligation under international law to prevent significant harm to the climate system, not just those who have signed climate treaties. This means that inaction is now a breach of international law. And the court also recognized the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment as a binding legal right and found that producing fossil fuels, granting exploration licenses, or providing subsidies for fossil fuels could amount to a violation of international law. And perhaps the most consequential part of the ruling is what happens when countries break these obligations. The court confirmed that states violating their climate obligations can face a full range of legal consequences, including being required to stop wrongful conduct, provide guarantees they won't repeat it, and make full reparations through ecosystem restoration, compensation for financially measurable losses, or even make formal public acknowledgement of the harm caused. This is a lifeline for small island nations and vulnerable communities who have contributed least to the climate crisis but suffered the most from it. In the words of Her Excellency Mary Robinson, with this climate advisory opinion, climate justice is the law now. This has also been a historic win for frontline communities, but the journey isn't over yet. And this is what I would like to close with. What next? The ICJ has given us a robust foundation to build upon, a robust foundation that is rooted in science, the lived realities of people, and in the ideal of a climate just world. For all of us in the progressive movement, in the climate movement, it is a tool in our toolkit to demand justice and hold power to account. When we speak now about phasing out fossil fuels, scaling up adaptation, delivering climate finance, and securing loss and damage support, we speak not only with moral authority, but with the backing of international law. We acknowledge that there still exist many systems of injustice around the world. Some pipelines are still being planned, some laws still ignore climate risk, some markets will still gamble and are still gambling with our futures. The advisory opinion gives us a pathway and a tool for advocacy, diplomacy, litigation, policy design, and community organizing. Our task now is to build systems of change, laws that protect, mobilizing finances that help address the glaring inequalities, and building institutions that are relevant and capable of responding to the decades of climate harm frontline communities have faced. Often people ask me about the impact and the power of this advisory opinion. What impact will it have? And my response to that question is that the true power and potential of this opinion can only be found if we work towards its operationalization. We need to be loud and clear to governments that they cannot ignore this ruling and they must comply with their obligations under international law. That when we go to COP, to the UN, or to any room of power, we are going fully equipped with the law to help strengthen our demands and our voices. The power of the people needs to be activated, resulting in governments aligning policies with the court's guidance, negotiators using it to set higher ambition, and judges and tribunals citing it to clarify duties, parliaments drawing on it for better laws, journalists, artists translating it into stories that resonate, and communities using it to claim remedies and protections. It really is an all hands on deck situation. Every activist, every organizer, every person who has ever felt powerless in the face of this crisis, understand that we are no longer just fighting with our conscience. We are fighting with the law behind us. The world's highest court has spoken. Now it is our turn to make sure the world listens. And for us in the Pacific, the cyclones are still coming, the sea is still rising, but so are we. The ocean gave us life, shaped our cultures, and carried our ancestors across the greatest expanse on the earth. We will not let it be the thing that buries us. We will fight for it, we will fight with it, and we will win. Thank you so much.